My ex and I loved each other very much. This is what happened the year before we broke up. When my family called hospice for my great-grandmother, I flew to Maryland and I was there for 2 weeks. I stayed with her by her bedside, helping my great-aunts take care of her in her last days. I watched as family came to visit her. She had children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren. It became painfully obvious to me just how important it was to me that I would have kids one day. And not because I wanted somebody to be there for me when I was in my last days, but because when I imagined myself at the end of my life looking back on my life, the idea that I didn't get to bring life into the world, and it's not even about bringing life in the world because I would adopt, but not being able to give to some other life in that way, to not be able to mother, was something that I knew I was gonna regret. I knew that if I stayed with Tyler that might never happen. But since he wasn't giving me a definite yes or no, I just stayed for a whole nother year. When I got back to Oregon, we had a lot of difficult conversations about what was most important to us in life. And I realized that it wasn't not just in not having kids, but in life. We weren't creating life. We were chasing life, but we weren't creating. We both agreed that family was really important to us, and although he wasn't necessarily 100% on board to have kids, he did want to go and move back to the East Coast to be closer to his family. So we decided to move to New York instead of LA. But in order to do that, we needed more income because the podcast editing business was starting to slow down. Tyler spent months searching for full-time positions, and I took on the rest of the podcast editing work that we did have. And Tyler got a temporary position in person in New York that would potentially lead to a full-time job. Living in New York temporarily for those 3 months was a huge financial risk because temporary housing in New York is extremely expensive. And so we're starting to rack up a lot of credit card debt, and I'm terrified, but I also know that this is not the first time that we've taken a huge life risk and bet on ourselves and come out the other end much better off than we were before. And Tyler promised me that if he got this job, we would stay in New York for a long time and we would finally start creating our life. We knew that if there was any opportunity that we wanted, it was going to be there for us in New York, of all places. Follow along to see if he gets the permanent position or not.